But if Steve says I am, I appreciate that. I'm Tom Bernecky, and I'm honored to be invited to speak today to you. I was asked to speak about cap and trade and the financial markets. First, a quick thought on cap and trade. It's a governmental taxing mechanism. First, they're anti-pollution. So much that if you want to pollute, you'll have to pay for the right to pollute. Think about that concept for a moment. If you want to do something I'm against, as long as you pay me enough money, I'm for it. Now let's move on to financial markets. On December 31st, 1991, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 10,940. Yesterday it closed at 10,977. So after 10 years of exposure to the stock market, you're up about 37 points on your investment. On December 31st, 1999, the S&P 500 closed at 1279, and yesterday it closed at 1194. So after 10 years of exposure to the S&P 500, you're down 6% on your investment. How's that for an investment? On December 31st, 1999, if you bought gold, you bought it at $289. Yesterday it closed at $1,161, or up 400%. That's pretty much all I have to say about the financial markets and taxation, cap and trade. I want to talk about the economy now. Americans, you have a large appetite for high-paying jobs and cheap goods. Actually, it sounds great. The fact is, you cannot have both. You must give up one for the other. We seem to have chosen the cheap goods. Cheap goods come from cheap labor. Corporate entities must search the world over to find cheap labor, and that means the exportation of our jobs. It's hard to pay Americans $27 an hour plus benefits when you have 2.2 billion people in Asia and India who will work for a nickel and a bowl of rice a day. I want to give a couple examples of this. I met a businessman in Kenosha, Wisconsin, who owned a furniture company. He employed all of the people he grew up with. His father employed all the people that their fathers were. And all of their grandfathers were employed by his grandfather. He moved his company to China. He was able to buy wood in Wisconsin, ship it to China, make it into furniture, ship it back, and sell it cheaper than he can make it in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That cheap labor took the jobs away from Kenosha. Ford announced last month that they're going to hire 1,000 people. 500 of those people will be re-employed by Ford. They were previously laid off, making $26 an hour, and their new jobs are going to pay $10 an hour. Those are not the type of wages that we need in this country. It was a noble thought. What ails our economy today? Massive debt, decreasing incomes, increasing unemployment, which all causes a debt spiral. Just as falling incomes and debt destroys the private sector, falling tax receipts and large deficits destroy the public sector. We are starting to see that right now here in our states, our counties, and our municipalities. We're in a financial slide. 33 states do not have enough money to pay the unemployment claims through the end of this month. I do not think that people are surprised by the fact that the U.S. is starting to decline in economic standards. But I do believe you are all surprised at the rate of speed it is starting to happen. Most Americans knew this day would come. We just didn't think it would come in our lifetime. It is. It's coming in our lifetime. And the plan was not to bring the whole world. I have to go back for a second. Globalization was a concept to bring everybody to the same living standards. We could not bring the entire world up to our living standards. The whole world cannot make $27 an hour plus benefits. So as 2/3 of the world are going to double their living standards, ours will have to be cut in half to meet them. And that's where we're at today. Ross Perot mentioned something, a large sucking sound. It was the jobs leaving this country. The first fix to the economy is going to be a new theme: learning to do more with less. Out of control spending by consumers will stop due to lack of jobs, lack of credit, and diminishing wages. In the same way, out of control spending by state and local governments will diminish as tax receipts fall due to that slowing economy. The federal government will feel it their responsibility to carry the ball. They will sell more bonds and use the money in a desperate attempt to revive this economy. Know one thing: when a government sells a bond, it is a promise to the bondholder that they will tax the people at a later date to pay that bond back. So every new bond we sell is a new promise of taxation. Just this week, Paul Volcker said the U.S. should consider raising taxes to bring down deficits and entitlement cost. He never once mentioned cutting spending. What the heck is an entitlement anyway? I thought we were entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We do not need more entitlements. This country is not great because of the things that our government gives away. This country is great because of those who came before us, who fought for freedom and independence against a monarchy that overruled and overtaxed. This country is great because of those who took that freedom and used the opportunity to apply drive and motivation from within to make their lives better. Not those who came for a handout. This not only is a shot at immigrants, we have nurtured an entire class of Americans who like the non-productive life if they can get what they want for free. Nothing's free. Most Americans, even some of you who are standing here today, love to hear that they're going to receive something for nothing and somebody else is going to pay for it. Only now most of you are starting to realize there is nobody else to pay for it. I have twice been a candidate for public office. I was mystified by the way educated Americans line up their support for candidates who promise to give them something and make someone else pay for it. Voters usually fall for this time and time again, and that is why government is broken. It has made great promises that it cannot keep. Government employees and elected officials are too large in number. They have bloated salaries, bloated pensions. Government employees do not pay into Social Security. They have their own separate plan. Social Security is the scam that we have to participate in. Do you know that the top 5 employers in the state of Illinois are as follows? The federal government, Cook County, City of Chicago, Chicago Public Schools, and the state of Illinois. All those redundant employees are paid with your tax dollars. This is absurd. The first step in fixing this is to curtail the amount of government spending. As I mentioned earlier, learning to do more with less is the new theme, and government needs to adopt that theme. Governments are collectivist. They collect money. The more money they collect, the more power they have. They're about power. They need your money to feed their power machines.